Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Samast Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitaamritavarshini Bhagavati Ashtadashadhyayani Amba Tvamanusandadhami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshini Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavai Vedai Sangapadakramopanisadai Gayanti Yam Samaga Dhyanavasthita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam na vidutsura suragana Devaya tasmai namaha Devaya tasmai namaha Om Shri Ganeshaya namaha Om Shri Saraswatyai namaha Om Shri Gurubhyo namaha. I think it's Hari Om. So we are in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. We have covered the 10 shlokas where Arjuna continues his moha, his delusion, and telling Bhagavan Sri Krishna that I am confused and I am just immersed in this self-pity and I don't know what to do. So Shishyasteham Shadhi Mam Tvam Prapannam. I prostrate to you, I surrender to you. I am your disciple and you please teach. So that is how one should approach a teacher, because the teacher is not supposed to teach or should not teach until the disciple is ready. And as we had talked, Bhagwan and Arjuna had been friends since childhood, and also Arjuna was his brother-in-law. But even when they were in the forest for 12 years, Bhagwan Sri Krishna visited them many times, but never said that I will teach you this self-knowledge, this Bhagavad Gita. Only when Arjuna finally surrenders, that's when the teaching starts. And so today in shloka number 7, the teaching will start, where Bhagwan will, 11. What did I say? 7. Oh, 7, sorry. Shloka number 11, where Bhagwan will teach this message to Arjuna. And that's when the real teaching of the Bhagavad Gita starts. And in fact, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji, who has written a Bhashya on the entire Bhagavad Gita does not even cover the first chapter and the 10 shlokas of the second chapter, because that is all Arjuna's Vishad, Arjuna's delusion. Only when Bhagavan starts talking, then Shankaracharya ji covers that. So, chapter 2, shloka number 11. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashocyan Anvashocastvam Prajnavadamscha bhashase Gatasumscha Anushocanti panditaha. Together, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashocyan Anvashocastvam Prajnavadanscha bhashase Gatasumscha Anushocanti panditaha. So the second chapter is called Sānkhya Yoga. Sānkhya has many meanings. One of the meaning is that it is the highest knowledge, the knowledge of Brahman. The supreme wisdom is revealed in the second chapter. Also means how Bhagavan systematically approaches this subject. It is worth reading, as we will see in the next 30 or 40 shlokas, how Bhagavan Sri Krishna systematically covers this knowledge for all of us. But unusually, it is usually the teacher will start from the lowest knowledge where the student is and then bring him higher and higher. But Bhagavan is like a hammer. He directly starts with the highest. He said, that is what you need to know first. And then other aspects of this Sānkhya Yoga, Bhagavan will cover, but the first few shlokas cover the entire essence of the Upanishads. That's why it is said, Sarvopanishado Gavo, Dogda Gopala Nandana. Upanishads are the cows, and the essence is the milk, is the Bhagavad Gita. So, Shri Bhagavan Uvat. So the Lord spoke. What did he say? Ashocyan. Ashocyan means that which one should not grieve for. One should not grieve for that. Ashocastvam. And you are grieving, have grieved for that which one should not grieve over. So you are doing the opposite of what should be done, but still you talk like a wise person. Prajnavada means the wise person. Cha bhashase, you speak like a very wise person, because Arjuna throughout the first chapter had been telling Bhagavan about Artha Shastra and how the world should be run and why this war should not be fought, and trying to quote all the scriptures. So he says, you talk like a wise person, but you are speaking the opposite of what should be spoken. Why? Because gata soon, agata soon. Gata soon means those who are gone. Agata soon means those who are not yet gone. So our parents, grandparents are gone, and we are not yet gone. We will go. So he says, those who are alive and those who are dead, na anushochanti panditaha. Panditaha means the wise person. Do not grieve for those who have gone, and those who are still here, there is no need to grieve. Anushochanti means constantly to grieve. So let us see what this means. So as we said, Bhagavan is treating Arjuna because Arjuna was under the disease of moha, delusion. And because of moha, he had shoka, he had wrong understanding, he had wrong ideas, wrong determination of what I should do, what I should not do. So Bhagavan is giving him the medicine for this disease of moha, delusion, and that medicine is only knowledge. When I'm suffering from ignorance, only thing will help me is knowledge. by doing karma yoga or bhakti yoga, those I may purify my mind, but my delusion will not go until I approach a guru and get the right knowledge. So that is the treatment that Bhagwan is giving. If those of you who don't have the BMI chart, here we have it on the board, but I think we have posted it on the Gita WhatsApp. So try to follow on the WhatsApp. So we see that in this BMI chart, I think most of you know it, but if anybody is new, I'll just cover it. Body, mind, and intellect, that is who I am. I am this body with the mind, emotions, and intellect, ideas. That is what we think I am. And because of the body, I become a perceiver of objects. Because of the mind, I become a feeler of emotions. With the intellect, I become a thinker of thoughts. So this perceiver, feeler, thinker is said to be the ego. Ego means not ego that is like pride or arrogance. Ego means this idea that I am this limited being, who I am. That is called the ego. And that is the wrong understanding of who I am. And OET is the world that we deal with. So how does this ego arise? The scriptures tell us that vasanas is our ignorance, our wrong ideas, and Om is the Lord's presence within us. You can call it Brahman, you can call it God, you can call it Sri Krishna, Lord Shiva, whatever. But Om is the supreme consciousness, which is all pervading. There is only one God, only one consciousness appearing through various bodies, through various plants, animals, birds, fish. So how does this BMI get illumined? How do I get life? We are all alive, we are all moving. So this consciousness, which is God principle, reflects in the mind and intellect. Reflects means not as light, but as an expression. So this consciousness expresses or manifests in my mind and intellect. And that is why when this consciousness reflects here, this is called the subtle body. This can reflect like the sunlight reflecting in a mirror outside. The light will come in the room from the mirror because the mirror can reflect light when the sunlight comes and it is rightly positioned. But if there is a rock outside and the sunlight falls on the rock, it's not going to reflect. So mirror has the ability to reflect. It's called the subtle capacity. So the mind and intellect has the ability to reflect. The body is like the rock. It is inert. It doesn't have the ability to do anything until the mind and intellect is energized by the consciousness. So that is how the ego arises. And what is the ego? The perceiver, feeler, and thinker. So when this light of consciousness comes in my mind and intellect, then I realize, then my ego arises. Then my ability to function in the world, the body gets energized. But the ego that we think we are is actually a wrong idea, because the ego is what that separates me from others, that I am separate from her, him, from the plant, animal, and also I am separate from God. Even though God is within us, we think we are separate from God and we are separate from each other is because of the ego. And this knowledge of the world of the Bhagavad Gita will tell us that your true nature is Om. We are all that Om, Bhagwan, that consciousness, the divinity, manifesting in this body and functioning in this body. So this body is my equipment and the world is where I have to deal. So that is how the ego arises, not knowing that I am that supreme consciousness. I think myself to be this limited BMI. So by non-apprehension of the reality, a misapprehension comes. With not knowing my true nature, I think I am this limited ego. But Bhagavan says, you are that supreme consciousness. You are not this limited individual. So do not forget that. But what we do, we get attached at the body level to objects, to things, my house, my car, my money, my 401k, my this, my that, all that. At the mental level, we get attached to people, Oh, I love this person, I don't like this person. If this person doesn't say hello to me or doesn't smile at me, I become miserable. So we are attached to the mentally to our emotions and intellectually to our ideas, our concepts, that I am better than others, or I am a Republican, or I am a Democrat, or I am, so all these ideas. I'm a socialist, I'm a liberal, I do so much good for others. So all these ideas we get attached to. So that's why we are constantly attached to the world of objects, emotions, and thoughts, and we forget God, that our true nature. So Bhagavad Gita says, turn your attention to the divinity, that is who you are. And and so that is our true identity. And a wise person knows that who am I really? And they say that for the lower, we are ready to sacrifice the higher. So, for example, there is a mother, she's poor and she has very little money, and her child is hungry, and she has only food for one person. So, what will she do? She will give the food to the child and sacrifice her own hunger. Why? Because of love. So she will sacrifice her body for somebody she loves. So the mental level is higher than the physical level. For my for somebody I love, I'm ready to sacrifice my physical comfort. Then at the intellectual level, there is a freedom fighter, who loves his country. And for the sake of his country, he will even sacrifice his physical comfort. He would suppose they are fighting a war against the enemy who has conquered the country, and he's fighting for freedom. He will go into the forest, leave his home, leave his family, leave all his comforts. Why? Because I have to fight for the freedom of my country. So for intellectual success, he is ready to give up physical comforts and even emotional comforts like his family and so on. But the highest is at the spiritual level. One who is on the spiritual path gives up all three. Means he's not attached. Does not mean he gives up his body or does not, but he's not dependent on the body. Example is Gautam Buddha. Buddha. He was the king. He was the prince. He was going to be the king. He had a wife. He had a newborn child. But when the desire in him came to attain the highest good, he sacrificed everything. His physical comforts, he used to stay hungry for weeks and months at a time. His emotional attachments to his family, even his kingdom, everything he gave up for the higher pursuit. And all Mahatmas who achieve the highest do that with sannyas, with giving up. Sannyas, again, doesn't mean you have to necessarily go to the forest, but realize that my happiness doesn't depend on objects, emotions, and thoughts, and it depends on the self. So, constantly meditating on, I will talk about meditation either today or in the next class, but meditating upon that my highest nature, which every Sunday we do from 10:20 to 10:50, we have meditation class here where we focus on this higher. And so my true identity, I forget. I forget I am that consciousness and think I am this limited individuality. And a wise person, he tells him, you talk like a wise person, but you are doing the opposite. You are supposed to go towards the true knowledge, you are going towards ignorance, towards vasanas. Vasanas are the ignorance because of which I don't know I am that. So he says, Ramakrishna Paramhans said it very beautifully. If you want to go to the west, don't move towards the east. Because if you move toward the east, you will go further and further away from the west. So similarly, if the more you go towards the world, the further away you go from God. If you want to go towards God, keep your attention on that is who I am, that is who I want to achieve, that is who I want to know. So in our prayer, in our service, in our meditation, we always contemplate upon that supreme God, and oh God, please reveal yourself to me, and I constantly focus on that, meditate on that. So that is the goal of all spiritual seekers. And then Bhagwan also tells that Bhishma and Drona, they are great people, no doubt. If a lot of, they may perish, but their ideas will not perish. Even today, we respect Bhishma and Drona, though this happened thousands of years ago. Why do we do that? Because Bhishma was a great soul. It is said next to Bhagavan Krishna, he was the most noble character in the Mahabharata, nobler than all the Pandavas, nobler than Yudhishthir, everybody, because he was very, very, very sincere, very true to his word, and always thought about the welfare of all. And so we still respect him. Why? Because of his mind and intellect, not because of his body. His body is long gone. Same way, Drona was a great teacher, was a great guru. We still think about him with reverence. And in the modern example, you can think like, Nelson Mandela. In South Africa, they will revere him even for hundreds of thousands of years. Martin Luther King, even among blacks, he will be worshipped. So Abraham Lincoln, even among Americans, no matter how long it is, because he got freedom for the black. So these people who have accomplished so much in this life, in their lifetime, even long after they are gone, they will be always remembered. So that is the one. So even the body may perish, but their mind and intellect, their ideas will not perish, their concepts will not perish. And then the highest is knowledge, which we will talk in the next month shloka, is that we are all that supreme Lord, that one consciousness, which never dies. See, the body may perish, the mind and intellect may go take another birth. That is what happens. We'll talk about that in the next, about reincarnation. But the consciousness that I truly am always was, is, and always will be. So that is the message. And a wise person should understand that, accept it, and apply that in his life. So that is his first shloka, that even though the body may perish, individuals should not grieve. So they say, but don't we grieve? Suppose the near or dear one passes away. Should we not feel sorry? Yes, you should grieve. But what is important is na anushochanti pandit. Anuto shochanti means constantly. Yes, somebody passed away. We feel sorry for a while. We grieve. We miss them. Maybe our parents or our grandparents, we were close to them and we miss when they have passed away. But then one has to understand that jo aaya hai wo jayega. Whoever has come will go. So that understanding should be there. So you grieve, but then you get over it and you say, okay, I hope they are in good place. I hope they are in heaven. I hope they are doing well. You just pray for them, remember them with love and reverence. But you don't have to constantly cry. There are some people, oh, I'm crying. Why are you crying? Oh, my mother passed away 15 years ago and I still miss her. Then you are holding on to the past, because mother is gone, you will also go. So you can't hold on to something that is gone. Just love them, have a picture on the wall, respect them, bow down to them, but do not grieve over gata soon, agata soon. Those who are gone and those who are not yet gone. There is somebody who in your family who is very sick and he's not yet gone, but we know that maybe in a week or 2 weeks or a month he's on hospice. He won't be there or she won't be there. That's life. Nobody is going to live forever. Even Bhagwan Sri Krishna, when he came, he dropped his body after 100 and I think they say 100 and what? 126 years. Yeah. Sri Bhagwan Sri Rama came, incarnation of Bhagwan Vishnu. They all stayed for their whatever limited life they had and whatever, but their life was a life of service, of helping world. So today, actually, in Gurudev's message, it said very beautifully that all lights have to extinguish. Our light of life will extinguish after a certain time. But while the light is there in you, make sure you give light to the world. serve the world. That is the purpose. Everybody's life will end, but jab tak main hu, let me do the God's work. So that is the message of this shloka. We'll go to shloka number 12. Natve vaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadhipaha न चैव न भविष्यामः सर्वे वयमतः परम् न त्वेवाहं जातु नासं न त्वं नेमे जनाधिपाः न चैव न भविष्यामः सर्वे vayamatav param. So Bhagavan is hammering that same point little more in the 12th shloka. Na tu means indeed. Tu means indeed. Certainly. Na means to. Eva means not ever. Jatu, not ever. And not beyond this. Aham jatu na asam. So there was never a time, Jatu, when I was not there. Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, there was never a time I was not there. You say, oh, Bhagavan, but Arjun says, well, you were born, say, I think he was about 70 or 65, 70 years old when the Mahabharata. He says, oh, you were born 60 years ago. So he says, no, there was never a time I was not there. Natvam, and neither a time when you were not there. Arjuna says, no, I know my date of birth. My mother told me. He says, no, there was never a time you were not there. There was never a time I was not there. Na ime janadi paha. And these rulers, these kings that you are seeing, all these great warriors, they were also always there. So that is a very profound message he is giving. And na cha eva, and not also na bhavishyamaha, and also these will never not be there. Sarve, all of us, sarve vayam, all of us, ataf param, from now onward. So what is the shloka? He says there was never a time when you, me, and these kings were not there. They were always there. They are here, and they will always be there. So he says, no, but you just said, those who are gone and those who are not yet gone, all of us will be gone. He says, no, we won't. We will always be living. We will always be alive. We will never be unmanifest. So what does it mean by that? That again, he's telling us that we are Om. We are that supreme consciousness. This body, mind, and intellect is just my temporary role I am playing, which I have been assigned based on my karmas, based on my previous actions. So how do we take up a particular body? So they say that when one body perishes, say I die, I leave this body, my mind and intellect, along with my vasanas, propelled by my vasanas, we, all of us, go to higher or lower worlds. And all religions believe that, right? Even in Christianity, they say that you go to heaven if you have done good deeds, you go to hell. Even Islam says, Jahannam mein jaoge, or you will go to Jojak mein jaoge. So you will go to heaven or you will go to hell based on your actions. So the subtle body, which is the mind and intellect, and body B is the gross body, V is the causal body. So the causal body causes my mind and intellect to go into higher or lower worlds based on my actions. And then when my karmas in that world are exhausted, if I have done good deeds in heaven or if I have done bad deed, I suffer in hell. When that time is over, then I take another body. So the subtle body then enters a new mother's womb, enters into a mother's womb. Again, the kind of womb that I get is based on my karmas. So there is a law of karma that Bhagavan has put into place, that whatever actions I do, not only I get the benefit or the punishment in this life, but even my next life depends on what kind of actions. So I may get, a body where I may be very healthy, very intelligent, or because I have done some karmas, I may be born in a body that is, very poor, somebody, or who's mentally challenged, or who's physically handicapped. Or I may get a very healthy, smart body. Not only that, but I also may not be born as a human. I may be born as a buffalo, or a, elephant, or a snake, or a mosquito. So my next body could be animal, could be plant, could be, human, based on my actions. And so consciousness is one. This mind, intellect, and vasana package is called the jiva, and the individuality. So there is a constant consciousness which is present throughout this body, which is observing, which is doing what it is, watching what we do. And then based on my own karmas, then I myself decide what kind of body I should have, what kind of life I should have, not only in this life. If I have done good, like a student who has studied well, will pass with A grade and go to a good college. A student who never studies, won't go to college. He'll just take up some job somewhere. So here also we see that the law of karma applies, but not only in this life. And then also the person who has gone to a better college will have a better career, better profession, and better, so everything depends on karmas. Things don't come unless, of course, if your parents are very rich, and otherwise, majority of us, we work for what we have. So this jiva that is constantly there with us, with never sleeps. That's why they say Jagrat Swapna Sushuptyadi Prapancham Yat Prakashate. Kaivalya Upanishad Tad Brahmaham Iti Jnatva Sarva Bandhai Pramuchyate. He says, I am that consciousness that is there in waking, dream, and deep sleep, constantly there. That is my true nature. I heard a very nice story. So there was this father who was a thief. His profession was, and he was a high quality thief. He could break into the most guarded house. He could all undo the alarms. He knew all that. And then he would go to the safe. He would be able to manipulate the safe and steal, and nobody ever caught him. He was the world's best thief. And so he had a son who, when he was 10, 11, 12, he said, I need to teach my son everything I know. So may he become as good a thief as I am, or even better. So he starts teaching his son from age 10 how to be a good thief, and how to go break into houses, and alarms, everything he teaches him. So by 16, 17, the son is ready, and then on his 18th birthday, his father tells him, look, now you have graduated. I have taught you everything I know about robbing. Now this is your test on your 18th birthday. I want you to break into that guarded, very secure house, and break into the safe and bring all their treasures. That is your Guru Dakshina, which I have taught you. So I want you to prove that you have learned. So the son says, no problem, father. The father says, be careful. Make sure nobody is watching you. Make sure you don't get caught. You have to be very careful. Says, yes, father, you already taught me. So son goes, easily breaks into the house. And father is waiting, and he's expecting that in 1 or 2 hours, he had gone around 10 or 11, and until 3 o'clock in the morning, he hasn't come. He said 4 hours, 5 hours almost. What happened? I hope he didn't get caught. He should have been done in 1 hour or 2 hours. Why? What happened? He's really worried. And suddenly around 3:30 in the morning, and it's still nighttime, and he finds the son walking back with nothing in his hand. So he says, oh, are you okay? Did you get caught? He says, no, father, I didn't get caught. He said, then why didn't you bring any loot, any valuables, any jewelry? Were you not able to break into the house? Yes, father, I was able to break into the house. I broke into the safe. He said, then what happened? Where's the jewelry? He says, well, I carried the jewelry out and I walked out of the house, put on the alarm, closed the safe, and I was walking out. And then you told me, make sure nobody is watching you. He says, yeah. He says, but the trees were watching me, and the moon was watching me, and the stars were watching me. And I was watching myself. I was watching me. So many people, when I was watching, I means this, oh, this gone. He says, I found so many people watching. I didn't feel good about taking because I know that I have done wrong. So he said, I went back. I opened the alarm, the safe. I put the jewelry back, closed the safe, and came out. I couldn't do that. So father breaks out into tears. He says, "Oh, I'm sorry, my son, for putting you through this, putting you on this path. You do what you want," because he realized that the son is nobler and thinking wise. So the point is that whatever we are doing, this consciousness is always with us, is always watching, even though we say, "Oh, I did this and nobody knew," but I know. I know means the voice of conscience. So that is what he says, that there was never a time when you were not there, I was not there, all of these people were not there. But there are materialists, we call them charvakas, who think that this life alone is real, that is it. Jo hai, wo yahi hai, whatever life you have, enjoy, eat, drink, they say drink ghee, eat ghee, eat as much as you want, enjoy as much as you want. There's no such thing as sin and pap and punya. Everything is here. So you enjoy your life. Whatever sense pleasures you need to do, forget about. Who knows there is some higher world or lower world? Has anybody ever come back and told us that there was? No, we don't believe it. May be written in the Upanishads. Some rishi sitting somewhere in the Himalayas 5,000 years ago said there is heaven and hell. That is all bakwas. And not only rishi, but we see all prophets talk about it. All the. So is that there is no birth, there is no death. I mean, birth and death. There is no rebirth. There is no death after anything after this life. Just enjoy. But Gurudev in his commentary, when you have time, read it. He has given quotations from all of them, like from Solomon, who was the prophet of the Jews. He has talked about that man gets his life based on previous actions. Even Christ has himself talked about the rebirth. Even Muhammad said that I was a stone and then I was died as a stone and became a plant. I died as a plant and I was born as an animal. Muhammad says that I died as an animal, came as a human. Now, why should I be afraid to die as a human? Because I will be born again as an angel. So, all the great thinkers, philosophers, all support this idea of rebirth, reincarnation. So, that's what Bhagavan is saying, that you and I were always there, and this body will go through birth and death. That is a well known fact, but that is not ultimately. And this reincarnation, there are many examples, in the scripture, and not in the scriptures, but even when I was growing up, I read in the newspaper that there was this girl who was Gurudev, I think, gives the same example because I myself have also read in the newspaper that there was this girl who kept insisting, she was about 5 or 6 years old, kept insisting that no, I was that lady. And she even mentioned her name, what she was in that previous life and which village she was in. All that she was mentioning at age 6 and 7. And she kept saying, I want to go there. I want to go. So her parents took her there. And when she went there, she said, this is the house I lived in. And she even said, okay, this house, this wall was not there. This structure was not there. You guys have built it recently, have you not? And they said, yeah. So how did she know that this wall had been changed, this structure? And then there were two young men, and she said, oh, you are my sons. You were my son. She recognized them, she named them, and she told everything that had happened. She even knew the names of these young men whom she had never seen. And then afterwards, they believed that, okay, she was our mother. And when she left, she was crying. She said, I don't want to leave my two sons because they. So the point is that there are a lot of examples. And even logically, if you think, there is, it has to be. Like, otherwise, why would one child be born with leukemia? We find some children at age of 5, 6 days, they get leukemia, they are getting chemotherapy and radiation and all that and suffering, or they are born with physical or mental handicaps. And then there is another, young boy or girl who is healthy, intelligent, living in a good house. Somebody is born in a poor home. Somebody is born in Africa where the parents are suffering from AIDS, and the child also get AIDS at birth. So why would this be different? So that means God, who is sitting somewhere up there, is deciding, okay, this person I will give him happiness, this person I will give him misery. Then we think that God is like some kind of judge who just decides whatever he wants. Okay, isko main ye dunga, isko. No, God is impartial. God is all loving, kind, compassionate, and always wants our welfare. But unfortunately, we have done the kind of karmas that don't deserve. It's, I was telling in the Tuesday class also, God wants to give us all 100%. When we submit our paper, a teacher also, she wants to give 100% to every child. But if one child has written the whole paper, answered all the questions correctly, he will get 100%. Another one answers only half the question, will get 50%. A third one didn't even answer one question. That person will fail. So the teacher is not favoring one child over the other, is giving them what they deserve. So same way, Bhagwan wishes the best for us. That's why he himself comes down to teach us. That's why he came as Bhagwan Sri Krishna to teach us, as Sri Rama, as all these saints and prophets, at Puja Gurudev, Swami Chinmayananda. So Bhagwan manifests in all these different roles to help us, to give us the right guidance. So that logically will prove that Bhagwan is not arbitrarily deciding, but doing what is good for us. And we see also in child prodigies, there were like Gurudev says, Mozart was composing at age 5. Shankaracharya ji, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji, who was an incarnation of Lord Shiva, was writing commentary on Upanishads by age 6 and 7. Bobby Fischer, was a chess grandmaster at age 10. How would he have learned chess at age 10 where he could defeat the world's best chess players? It has to be previous life. Sometimes you'll see on YouTube, they will have videos of this 1 or 1.5 year old child playing tabla, and beautifully they are playing. How can that a child at 1.5 and 2 play tabla? It has to be from previous birth. So logically and in every way, reincarnation is proved and is accepted. Only thing is the modern religions, uh, some of the Semitic religions do not accept that, even though their prophets had talked about it. So that's why he says there is not a time when you and I were not there, and we will all not be there. So do not worry about death, because there is no death. There is death for the body, but the mind and intellect will take new bodies until enlightenment, and the consciousness Om will always be there. So that is shloka number 12. We'll do shloka number 13, where he talks about how the body goes through childhood, old age, and death. Dehi nosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptihi धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति. Together. Dehi nosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptihi dhirastatra na muhyati. So Dehina means this occupant of this body. So Dehina is the Jiva, the mind, intellect, and Vasana packet. This Jiva, this individual, Asmin, in this body, this Jiva, Yatha, just as the Dehina, the Jiva in this body, Dehe, Kaumaram, Yauvanam, Jara. Kaumaram means childhood. Yauvanam means youth. Jara means old age. So just as the jiva, the individuality goes through childhood, youth, and old age, tatha in the same way, dehantara praptihi, at the end of this body, the jiva will take another body. Nobody dies. Only way the cycle of birth and death will end if you attain enlightenment. A master who is enlightened, like Puja Gurudev or Shankaracharya ji or Buddha, so great realized masters, on attaining enlightenment will not be born again. But until then, the jiva has to go through birth and death, has to go through the cycle of birth and death. So dhiraha tatra na muhyati. So individual should not be deluded, should not be sorrowful. Did it record or not? Did? Okay. So he says, just as an individual goes through childhood, youth, and old age, same way it goes, gives up the body and takes up another body. So this constant change is there. So there is no need to get deluded. There's no need to feel sorrowful because nobody dies. At the highest level, consciousness, we are all that eternal consciousness. But even at the level of the jiva, the mind, intellect, and vasana, if you say, okay, I'm not the consciousness, but I am. So who is this I? Because we always say my body. We say my body. What will happen to my body after I die? Will I be cremated or will I be buried? Or even right now, I say, oh, my body is hurting. So who is the one that is saying my body? If I say my body, means I am not the body. Like if I say my pen, then I am not the pen. My car, then I am not the car. So when I say my body, means I am not the body. I am this jiva, individuality, or at the highest level, at the absolute level, I am that consciousness. So at the transactional level, which we call as uh, uh, vyavaharik level, or one is at the paramarthic level. At the highest level, absolute level, I am that consciousness. At the worldly level, yes, I am that individuality, and that's why each one's mind is different, intellect is different. But body is made of the same five elements, whether it's a human body or animal body or plant body, they're all made of the same five elements. So at the body level, we are similar. Of course, there is a difference between human and animal, man and woman, but basically they are all made of five elements. The jiva takes different bodies, but the consciousness is eternal. So he says the jiva will take childhood, youth, old age, and we don't mourn, we don't cry, as a child. Say, oh, I am becoming a youth. No, we are happy. Oh, I'm now growing up. Now I'm 16, I can drive. Or I am now, going to college. And then after college, I get a job. So, I look forward to all those changes. Yeah, people say old age, but even old age, it's called the golden years because that's when you are mature, when you have the knowledge, when you have time to spend more time on spiritual studies, on meditation. So all these changes we welcome. We don't complain because that is, and we know that okay, I'm a child, I become old, and then old age will come. And so one who accepts that and does not complain, then he goes beyond this fear of death even because he says death may happen but I will continue my journey. Or if he has attained enlightenment, then he knows I have no more life, no more journeys to accomplish. So the goal of spirituality is to take us to that Om, to that life of enlightenment. That's what everything, the whole Bhagavad Gita starts from that. That you are that. You are not this body. You are not even this mind and intellect, this jiva. You are that supreme consciousness. Tattvamasi. You are that. So the whole message of the Bhagavad Gita and all the Upanishads is to take us to that highest level. At the Semitic religions, they talk more about the soul, that the soul gives up the body and goes to heaven and hell, and that's it. Then there is nothing more. So, but in Sanatan Dharma, in our teachings, they talk about this continuous change of birth and death, and there is no need to mourn. There is no need to be deluded. So, dhiraha na anu, dhiraha tatra na muhyati. What is dhira? So, dhira, uh, Kalidas ji, Kalidas ji was a great poet who had written Shakuntala and a lot of beautiful composition in Sanskrit. He says that even when there is occasion to be unhappy, he doesn't get unhappy. Even when there is an occasion to be mourned, he or she doesn't mourn. That is dhira. That the situation may be bad all around, but the person's mind is always connected to Lord and does not get deluded, does not get become miserable, because in life circumstances will come. Everybody sometime will be happy, sometimes joy, sometimes sorrow. Problems will be there for everyone. There is this ghazal I've told many times, kabhi kisi ko mukammal jahan nahi milta. Nobody in this world will get a perfect life. Life will always bring problems, physical problems, emotional problems, intellectual problems. But a wise person is one who keeps his mind always on God and says, okay, whatever is happening is fine. It is meant, even sorrow when it comes, he says, it is meant for me to grow. So even joy comes or sorrow comes, the person does not forget God. If joy comes, he's grateful. When sorrow comes, he's still grateful, because this is an opportunity for me to learn, for me to grow, for me to turn towards God. So Dhira never gets deluded, never gets disheartened, because his mind is always connected with God. At the level of bhakta, you can say, my God is doing everything, and whatever is happening for the good. So on the path of bhakti, you say, Bhagwan jo kar rahe hain, acha kar rahe hain. At the level of knowledge, you say, I am that Om, I am that supreme consciousness appearing in this body. Body is my equipment, and equipment is meant to deteriorate. If I buy a new car, after 5, 10 years, it will become old and I have to trade it in. Same, I buy a new house. After a few years, it will become, anything that I get is temporary. Nothing in this world is permanent. What is created is bound to perish. So Dhira, the wise person, never gets deluded, because he or she knows that life is constantly changing. And how do I know life is changing? So they say, when you attach to the changeless, then only you can see life is changing. The example they give is like there is a river running, and you stay in the river and the river is fast, you will get carried away. But if you stay on the banks of the river, which is not changing, and the river is moving, the water is coming, you can observe the flow of the river and enjoy the beauty without getting affected. So, sitting on the banks, you can enjoy the flow of the river. So, similarly, staying in the Om, you can enjoy and watch. Okay, body is changing. Okay, it was young, now it's old. Fine. My mind was happy one day, unhappy. That is fine. If I have something, it's fine. If I don't have, I am still fine. Intellectually, I was, successful here and failed here. Okay, that's my prarabdha. I put my effort, but so such an individual does not get deluded when there are physical, mental, or intellectual changes, because his mind is always on the changeless. And the body will change, the mind will change. Nothing changes as faster as than the mind. One moment I'm happy, And then suddenly some news comes and I become unhappy. Oh, why did this happen? Why did that happen? So physically, mentally, and intellectually, there is a constant world of change. That's why it is called samsara, samsarati, which is constantly changing, constantly moving. So everything in this world is constantly changing. Nothing is permanent. A tree which was tiny has grown to become a huge tree. So how do I go above that? So we'll just talk 1 or 2 minutes about meditation. In meditation, what we do is we shift our attention from the body, mind, intellect, which is changing, and shift your attention inward to Om, inward to God's presence as consciousness. And a person who is properly able to meditate is able to rise above this world of objects, emotions, and thoughts and stay centered on the self within. So if anybody does not meditate on a regular basis, must meditate. And if you are interested, or we have some videos and a website to those who want to learn how to meditate. And we do have weekly classes, 10:20 to 10:50 before the Bhagavad Gita class. But also we have a website and some guided meditations. So those who are interested, even from Zoom, if you are interested, send me a message and I can send you that video on meditation and the website. So through meditation, I'm able to rise above my worldly attachments. Otherwise, we are so attached. Oh, I had this and I lost it, or this person I had and I lost him or her, or I had success, I had failure. So life will constantly bring ups and downs. That's why they call it dvandva. That is, life is only pair of opposites, constantly changing. And one who remembers, see in Dakshinamurti Stotram, it says, Balya dishwapi jagrada dishu tatha sarvasu avastasu api. So there is one which I remember my childhood. I remember my youth. I remember, as I'm getting old, I may not remember every detail, but broadly I know I was born here, then I went to school here, then I studied here. All that I remember, what jobs I had. So who is that which knows all of that? And also in the waking, dream, and deep sleep, what is it that constantly is keeping me alive, even in my deep sleep? I am not doing anything. My heart is beating, my lungs are breathing, my digestion is going on. Everything is happening. So, what is it? You can call it God, or you can call it Om, you can call it consciousness. So that which remembers is that consciousness, which constant. It's not the ego, because ego also changes constantly. So the one changeless factor which remembers all these changes, that is who I really am. So that's what Bhagavan Sri Krishna is telling us, that there is in life, there will be all changes, there will be all fluctuation. If you focus on the change, you will be miserable. If you focus that I am changeless, then you can observe all the changes and watch. That's why there was a beautiful line. He says, Ram jaro ke baitkar jag ka mujra dekh. Stay always stationed in Ram and watch how the world is playing, the game of the world, the play of the world, the mujra. You can watch the world's dance only if you are in the changeless, just as you can enjoy the river only if you are on the banks. But if you are in the river, you will get submerged. So in the world, you can enjoy the world if you keep your attention on God. So we'll end here. We have about 10 minutes. Before we end, I just wanted to make an announcement. Next week is Mahashivratri. So we'll have a half an hour class of Bhagavad Gita, only half an hour. And then we will go into the hall to do Mahashivratri Puja. So those who are on Zoom, you may please log in, but the class will be only half an hour. We'll do one shloka next week of Bhagavad Gita. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments anybody has? Yeah, Manish, go ahead.
Question. So karmas, are they mostly dictating and determining at a high level, or can you also get to lower levels? What I mean by that is, so the example you gave, a child is born with some, let's say they have some impairment, some handicap, some mental disability. So we can say that was based on karma. What about somebody who's walking on a path, and let's say there's water there and they tripped and fell, or let's say there's dishes in their dish rack, and let's say the dishes were put properly and they fell. So would all those be based on karma, or is it more at a high level?
No, karma is on every level. It is. So like if I put my hand in the electrical socket, it is not going to say, I'll give you a shock tomorrow or day after tomorrow. I'll get the shock right away, you know. But if I plant a mango tree, the result of that karma will come in 10 years, right? I plant a mango seed today, in 10 years, I will get fruit. Or if I put my hand in fire, instantly I will get the result. Or like you said, walking and tripping or whatever. So some karmas manifest right away, instantly, and other karmas manifest in their due time. Like a student, who is studied well and does good in exams, then the result of that karma will come in years. He will do well, he will go to a good college, and then he will get a good career. So some karmas manifest instantly, some karmas after some years, some karmas manifest in the next life. So the karmas, they say gahana karma no gati. The path of karma is very, very difficult for us to understand. But what I can do is right now, I should do my best, do good karmas to help others, to make the world a better place. And also, I should accept that if anything good or bad is happening to me, it is a result of my past karmas. So then I don't blame anybody else. I don't blame my husband, my wife, my child, my boss, my neighbor. It is me who is the cause of whatever is happening to me. So, one is it makes you more conscious that I should do good because no good karma will go unrewarded, no bad karma will go unpunished. And it may happen next week, may happen next month, next year, or next life. That's number one. So, I do good. And secondly, I accept whatever is happening, it is because of my karmas. And at the highest level, karmas don't matter because I am that supreme consciousness. So the karmas belong to the body. Let the body suffer, the mind, the intellect. But I am beyond all karmas. So at the highest level, there are no karmas. At the absolute level, this world is that Brahman consciousness. I mean, there is a consciousness which is supporting. This world is an illusory manifestation upon that. And we can talk a little more about that next week, how this world is an illusion appearing upon this consciousness. So, whatever karmas are happening, let them happen. I am not affected, but my body be affected or my mind. And so, the person is able to detach. But yeah, that's a very good question. Karmas are multiple depending on when that karma will fructify. Like like a tomato plant, you put it in, next 6 months you start getting hundreds of tomatoes, but a mango takes 10 years. So each thing manifests differently.
I'm just guessing. So every situation we go through, everything we endure is based on karmas, whether it's waking, sleeping, walking, talking, everything we're doing is based on karma.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
So basically, our entire life has been already predetermined based on our karmas, from every little stage to the highest.
No, predetermined up to now, but today what I do, I can change my future. So if I do good karmas today, so that is agami karma, prarabdha, and sanchit. Sanchit means what I did in the past will manifest today. So sanchit will manifest as prarabdha, as this karmas, what are happening to me. But based on my free will, see, man is the only one who has free will. Animals don't have, birds don't have. Human beings have free will. So based on my actions, that will determine my future results. So the same thing, if I study, I will pass. If I don't study, I won't pass. So I have the freedom to influence my future. My future. They say a man is the architect of his own destiny. So we are like an animal has no freedom to choose. A tiger will remain a tiger. He cannot become a non-violent, but a human being has a choice whether to pick violence over non-violence, love over hatred. So we have the choice to determine our future, and ultimately on the path of spirituality, to determine even to become enlightened and go beyond birth and death, go beyond karmas. So yeah, we are not helpless pawns in the hand of uh, destiny. We have free will. That's why Gurudev says what we get in life is destiny. What we do with it is free will. So my past will determine what I get, but then what I do with what I have, there I have freedom to choose. But that's a good question. Thank you. Yeah, Kusum.
I just want to, this is the new Mananam series.
Right.
And it says reincarnation and the karmic cycle. And it's beautiful. All different authors and sages from the world have written. Puja Gurudev has written 2 articles so beautifully done.
Right.
It's wonderful. So if you're really interested, it's explains all the karmic cycle and everything very nice.
Yeah, thank you, Kusum. Yeah, this book is available in the office.
This is the last Mananam series.
The just one just came. It just came out. And it's called Reincarnation, the Karmic Cycle. I'm just mentioning for the people on Zoom. You can buy it on the Chinmaya Mission website, or it is available in our office for those who are here. It's the Mananam series. So reincarnation, the karmic cycle, which talks about reincarnation and how our karmas affect. So answers a lot of our questions. Thank you, Kusum, for bringing that up.
And also I want to say why Lord Krishna taught the highest first instead of teaching from the lowest. As you said, the student usually taught at the level where the student, because this was the, Lord Krishna understood the problem, the root cause of Arjuna's despondency, that he doesn't remember that he's own, and he's attaching himself to that BMI, that I am the body, mind, intellect, and all these are my relatives. So he wanted to hit the root cause of it. So he starts at the highest philosophy, which is like a subtle psychophysical shock therapy, really.
Right.
And that's how he starts that.
Yeah, thank you. So for those on Zoom, Kusum said that Arjuna's disease was ignorance. And he was so identified with his body, mind, intellect that he was not thinking correctly and attached to his relatives and near and dear ones. So Bhagwan gives him like a shock treatment, the highest knowledge first, to bring him out of his delusion, out of his confusion, and to let him go, let him advance rapidly, so that he comes out of his, because he was in grief, he was crying and tears were running down his hands were shaking. So Bhagwan wanted to shock him out. Thank you, Kusum, for mentioning. I think we'll end here. So next week will be half an hour class. We'll go to the hall for Aarti, and then please stay for lunch. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Hari Om.